Hello, welcome back to Sports Interactive. Joe Mahan here. We're at the Minnesota Twins Spring Training Facility, Fort Myers, Florida. Here with the special guest, Bert Blyleven. So I got to start this segment talking about the 79 Pirates. I love that team. We are family. You guys won it in 7 games. You were down 3-1. You won the last 3 and the last 2 in Baltimore.
Absolutely, Joe. I think, when you think of the Pittsburgh Pirates, you have to think of the great players that they had. Of course, Roberto Clemente, and in 1979, we had Willie Stargell, the late Willie Stargell. I miss him dearly, but we were down 3-1 to Baltimore in that 79 series, and what was so neat about that series is I ended up pitching in Game 5 out of relief of Jim Rooker, and we won that game 7-1, and I ended up getting the win, but we felt like our offense just haven't taken off yet. Went back to Baltimore with a, hi Georgie, how are you? Well, we went back to Baltimore with we're down 3-2, and then it was almost like Willie Stargell said, "Hey guys, jump on my back. I'm going to carry you the rest of the way," and it's exactly what he did.
Yeah, and you guys went up against some tough pitchers in Baltimore that year.
No, we really did. You think of Jim Palmer, Mike Flanagan, Scott McGregor. They had a very good pitching staff in 1979, as Baltimore always did. The key to Baltimore's success over so many great years is that the defense that they were able to put on the field with, Brooks Robinson and Mark Belanger and Davey Johnson and Boog Powell, and you think of Paul Blair out in center field. All they had to do was, sniff the ball, and he was going to catch it.
Yeah, because I like the Pirates. My mother's from Pennsylvania, but you had a great team. You had Willie Stargell. You had Dave Parker, who won 2 batting titles in a row. Now, was Bill Matlock on that team at third?
Yeah, Bill Matlock was on that team. What was so neat about that ball club is everybody had the year, I think probably career years for a lot of guys that weren't expected to have careers. Phil Garner had a great year at second base. Tim Foley had a great year at shortstop. You had Lee Lacy in left field along with Bill Robinson. You had Omar Marino out in center field, Dave Parker in right. At first base, you had Willie Stargell. You also had John Milner, Mike Easler. Off the bench, we were very, very strong. And then behind the plate, you had Manny Sanguillen, you had Ed Ott, and you also had Steve Nicosia. So you stick that with a pretty good pitching staff with a closer of Kent DeColvey, we had a successful season.
Yeah, great name, Manny Sanguillen. Manny Sanguillen in his career, he was always in the top 10 in hitting, and there was a guy, first pitch, always swinging.
Well, I liked Manny because Manny was from Panama, and he spoke English very well, but he had that gap between his front teeth there, and he'd always be smiling. I mean, you come to the ballpark, and if you're in a bad mood, just look at Manny, and you'd feel good right away because he's a guy that just lived life to its fullest, and he still does. He's always a happy guy, and he was a great hitter.
Yep. You were also on another World Championship team in '87, and that also went 7 games.
It sure did. That was in 1987 when I was with the Minnesota Twins, and we ended up playing the St. Louis Cardinals. Yeah. And I think I kind of put that a little bit higher than the Pittsburgh club only because we weren't supposed to win. We weren't even supposed to be there. I think Detroit or Toronto were supposed to be there. We ended up beating Detroit in 5 games in the American League Championship Series. And then in 1987, we played the Cardinals, and Jack Clark got hurt. Tony Pendleton ended up getting hurt. So things kind of went in our favor. And, we won the first 2 games at home in Minnesota. We went to St. Louis, lost 3 straight. So, again, we've got our back against the wall. And this time it was the likes of Kirby Puckett and Ken Herbeck and Gary Gaetti and Tom Bernansky that really carried us to the next threshold of winning the World Series. Frank Viola was the MVP of the series. He started 3 games. I started 2 games. So we had a very good ball club.
Yeah, St. Louis, they went to 3 World Series in the 80s. They won, and all 3 of them went 7 games. They won the first one against Milwaukee, and they lost it 2. I'm just saying, if they would have won those other 2, they would be considered the team of the decade. But that was. What'd you think about that type of team, St. Louis? Kind of, we'll say base to base. John McGraw kind of baseball.
Well, I think when you had a manager like Whitey Herzog back then, a good baseball man, you're going to have success, but. A manager is only as good as his players. And you look around St. Louis with Willie McGee and Ozzie Smith, they had some great players there that made Whitey even that much smarter. And then now Tony La Russa, very good baseball man, but he has some very good talent that he's, has to put on the lineup every day. So a manager is only as good as his players, and the players have to produce.
Do you think, if, say, the Boston Red Sox, would they have had a better year perhaps last year. Like Grady Little, rookie manager, 93 wins. It's pretty good. But do you think if they had some, I'm just saying, like Joe Torre, would that make a difference, or you're saying it's the ball players?
No, it's the ball players. I think Grady Little is an outstanding manager. He has some great players, but it comes down to pitching and defense. No matter what sport, Joe, I believe in that you have to have good defense. And if your defense maybe falters a little bit, it's hard to win those 2-1, 3-2 ball games. Yes, you have Pedro Martinez, Derek Lowe had a great year last year, but you need that also 3-4 guy, 5 guy in the starting rotation to step it up and try to be as good as Martinez or Lowe had last year.
Yep. I mention this gentleman on my show all the time. You have 287 career victories, a couple of world championships, so certainly Hall of Fame numbers. I would think as a fan you'll be in the Hall of Fame in the next couple of years.
I hope so, Joe. My percentages keep kind of slowly going up. I think I was on 30% of the ballots, which I guess enables me to be on the ballot next year. Next year will be my 7th year on the ballot, and hopefully that day will come. I think more of a selfish point because of my father. He has Parkinson's, and I want him there with me. I know Gary Carter. I'm happy for Eddie Murray and Gary Carter going in this year, but Gary Carter's father passed away about a week after it was announced that Gary went in. So not to have his dad there, he will be there. It just he won't be there physically. And I'm happy for Gary Carter, Eddie Murray, and sometimes you see guys going into the Hall of Fame that deserve to be there, but it takes them longer to get there. And sometimes it's not right when they can't have the loved ones there with them.
Well, Mr. Blyleven, we really appreciate you coming on our show. Well, hopefully we're going to see you in Boston when the Twins come.
Yes.
We'll be there, and really appreciate it. Always been a big fan of yours and that 79 team, great team. So just to finish up quickly, what do you think about the Twins this year?
I think the Twins have an outstanding ball club. I think they're coming off what they did last year, losing to the Anaheim Angels in the American League Championship Series. I think is only going to make this team stronger. The likes of Torrey Hunter, Jock Jones. Right field is open with Dustin Moore, Bobby Kelty, Michael Kadire. First base very solid with Doug Minkiewicz. Rivas at second base, Luis Rivas. Christian Guzman at short, and Corey Koski at third. A.J. Przinsky hit 300 last year. But it's all, again, going to come down to pitching and defense. They lost Eric Milton, and what's so nice about this ball club here is Terry Ryan asked the owner, Carl Pohlad, hey, can I go out and get a guy like Kenny Rogers? They went out and got him. To fill Eric Milton's spot. You have Brad Radke, Rick Reed, Kyle Loesch, and Joe Mays, 5 quality starters. And then Eddie Gordado's coming off a great year where he had 45 saves. But what makes Eddie's year so successful is the guys that got him to that point. LaTroy Hawkins, Mike Jackson last year, Bob Wells, J.C. Romero, Johan Santana. So they're a very solid ball club, but they know that when that first opening day comes, March 31st in Detroit, that they have to take one game at a time, and hopefully in September they're in the race.
All right, well, Bert, really appreciate you coming on the show.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned.